Hello, Rising Queens. Thank you for joining me this week for part two of Three Words to My Teenage Self with Jay Unique. Last week, the three words that Jay Unique chose were integrity, consistency, and faith. We both had an in depth conversation about the importance of integrity and how it can either enhance or diminish your character. This week, we continue with part two, discussing the last two words, consistency and faith.
And so now I'm going to jump into consistency.
Yes.
Now, consistency is something even I struggle with.
We all do.
We
Yeah.
all do. And, you know, sometimes it's from myself, it's hard for me to stay disciplined in certain things. Like my mind is just always everywhere. And I'm always trying to keep a schedule of things, but then that doesn't work out sometimes for me.
Yep.
Even, you know, trying to put this podcast together, or even when I was writing my book,
Yeah.
you I really had to sit myself down and be like, girl, write
Mm-hmm.
the book.
Yes, because no
For
one
this,
else is gonna do it.
right, it's about the time you're gonna finish this. You started this.
Yep.
We not gonna stop and not do and not go back. We are
Right.
gonna finish this. Um, so I consistently in a lot of ways has
Right.
definitely influenced me. I don't know if that's the right word to say, influence, but it's definitely affected me a lot in the way, even in my life, in the way that I do things, and even now in my adult life, with my routine, with
Right.
work, and also still trying to, do this podcast, do other things
Right.
to do in life, and seeing how consistency is also important for young ladies, like it starting to become organized,
Right.
schoolwork,
Yep.
homework,
Yep.
you
Getting
know,
it in on time. Yep.
getting, even like after school, their responsibilities, their whether they play sports after school, they do dance
Yep.
after,
Exactly.
getting home and making sure whatever responsibilities they got to take care of at home. I mean, I've uh experienced and like talked to girls that, hey, they were like the ones running the house, running the home,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
because their parents or their mom or their dad wasn't home. They had to look after siblings
Yep.
and make sure that their siblings ate, that made sure they were all set, that they had clothes, everything. So
Right.
I've seen,
Responsibilities.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even on top of that, now you got schoolwork, homework to do, and
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes they may not end up doing the homework because of the other responsibilities that they have to take care of. And
Exactly.
then, not to mention if they have jobs after school.
Yep.
So that's also something else. And it is important that young ladies know how to be organized, schedule, and be consistent in everything that they do. And even though I know at times it will become overbearing
Right.
because it's so much. Um, and this is like, what we talked about earlier before we did the interview about taking it one day,
Yep.
one step at a
At a time. Yes.
time, doing what you can do. Because it is a lot,
Right.
especially for, young ladies that are, teenage girls, like that.
Hormones all over the place. Yep.
Yeah.
Just get in the groove. You're not technically an adult, but you have all these responsibilities. It's a lot.
It
And it never stops, technically. You go on into adulthood, and that's why I encourage them to get into it now and stick with it.
is.
Because I can say I had it at one point and I lost it. I
Yeah.
had consistency. I was a good student. I used to keep an agenda, but then I had a boyfriend and got distracted. And now all I'm worried about is texting. And I'm taking naps in class because at night I'm not doing my homework anymore. I'm on the phone. And so now things start to all blur together. And so if you can't balance both, you have to choose. And please, y'all, choose yourselves.
Yeah,
Choose yourselves, because if that love is supposed to be there, it'll be there. It'll
yeah,
be there in time. Yes, choose yourself 100% and remain consistent in that, because honestly, consistency is very hard for
it is.
myself. Having ADHD, that's probably
Yeah,
the biggest one for myself, where I'm like, nope, I need to be able to sit down every day when I start my day, write what I need to do today. Because I might have 20 tasks. And it's crazy because I just said this to my husband yesterday. He asked me, I make foot scrubs, and he asked me to make him some. He had ran out. And so it takes literally 5 minutes to do this task. But the supplies sat on the counter in the corner for like 4 weeks. And it's like, wow, I did everything but that. And it's not like I was upset with him, like he didn't deserve them. It's you'll procrastinate or you'll psych yourself out about completing a simple task longer than it takes to complete the task itself. And so I've been doing a lot more just stopping and talking to myself, having analyzation moments with myself and taking accountability of, okay, well, why didn't you make the soap yet? What is going on? And I realized, well, you know what? I felt a little overwhelmed. I have a lot of tasks, and to a degree, something that small, I could be doing this or I could be doing that. So instead, I made a list of everything that needs to be done and prioritized it based off of small amount of time to the biggest amount of time it's going to take to complete something.
yeah.
Because then you can go in order, knock a couple quick ones out, maybe tap a little bit into the big one, but knowing you're not going to finish it, come back around to it. But husband always says a brick a day, something. Just do something so you can say you kept moving forward, so you don't drown eventually. Because if you don't, life keeps going. Life will keep rolling without you. So,
So,
yes, they will be knocking for the bills or they will be turning off the lights. You have to keep going.
that's the truth. Yes. But let me say that number one, I've been there before with the
Yeah.
boyfriend
Yes.
and the distraction, and ending up not passing two of my classes. This is
Yep.
college.
Right.
And even in that situation, I had to sit down in my adult life and be
Right.
like, now what happened and
Mhm.
let this happen? Because I'm like you, I was on a roll. I was on the street,
Mhm.
straight A's, everything, and during that time I had transferred from one college to a different one up here in Rochester. And when I got to that school, again, like you mentioned, the tables turning, things.
Mhm.
Listen, you want to talk about somebody who went from was a 3.6 when I got to Fisher, and going from a 3.6 to a 2 point, was it 2.5?
Yep.
Like that was a drag.
Devastating. Yep.
Yeah,
Because it's like, wait, what's happening? And it happens, you go down so much faster than you can catch up.
yeah.
And when you're behind, even with a lot of, sometimes they'll give a little bit of extra credit. In the end, you are never going to make what you could have made if you had to gave it your full consistency from the beginning. And sometimes them few points, like I remember I made a class, I failed it by, because they considered D failing, and I got the D by like a few points, and it was just like, oh man, I would have gotten that C minus if I had just tried just a little bit harder. Because that's the part too. You go, like I said, it takes 5 minutes to make the soap. I finally made it, and it was just like, wow, that was that quick. Why? No, you can't keep doing that. So homework, you'll psych yourself out, don't want to do it, don't want to read the book report, but read a book within a day or two, do the report, get it over with. Listen to the book on tape if it really bothers you that much.
Yeah.
There's so many resources nowadays that it's like, now these kids can watch the movie.
Oh, will. Mm-hmm.
Yes, but find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
I know now a lot of people are saying that I'm keeping positive only around me, and if you're a complainer you can't be around me, and I get it because a lot of people are learning their value, learning their worth. I still am team lifting others up, so I don't necessarily say what I won't or will. I don't really try to announce that. I just go with the flow. But I am definitely in the business these days of trying to lead by example. And I can't even sit here with you tonight and have this conversation and don't continue to follow through with the things that I say I'm going to do at the conclusion of this.
Yeah. Definitely. And one last thing I'll say to this is even, you know, when we do slip or fall off,
Right.
and that's with anybody, just know that you can always come back and get back up and gradually climb your way back up.
Right.
You don't have to stay down. You don't have to, once you slip and fall, you just there. No. You
Nope.
can get up and you can gradually build yourself back up. And that's exactly what I've done, many times.
Yep.
Either like again with that 2.5 I received. I mean, thank God I still graduated.
Right. Right.
But you know, as soon as when I got into grad school, I had to really climb.
Down. Yeah.
And but it was worth it
Yep.
because by the time I graduated, I went through two graduate programs. So, by the time I finished with those, I saw myself at was it a 3.8?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I was thankful for it.
Yeah.
I like, even though, what I mean? It was like, I came back better
Yep.
than I did before, so, um, yeah, that's just, that's the conclusion right there. Like, even if you do slip, when you're trying to remain consistent and you're trying to keep up with everything, it's okay to gradually build yourself back up because it happens. That's
Yep.
all. You
It
know,
does. It
you
does.
one minute you're up, the next minute you're down, but don't stay down.
You can't. You can't, even if like I said, I was in a dark place.
Mhm.
I had no idea when my freedom would be restored. And that type of having to face yourself or face reality, it gets real in a way you have to face it. I had no choice but to look at myself in that mirror and say, okay, how did you get to this point? And not knowing what the consequence and the final was going to be, I had to accept every day could be going forward for a while in this location where you don't have your freedom. And so, with that, you have to say, well, this is my new reality. And how do I survive this now? And that's life, period. The presidency changes, the rules change, the types of cars we drive, the types of houses we live in. A lot of things change that we have no control over. And yet the grocery store, we didn't tell them to put them prices up that high, but they did it. They definitely did it. So it's like, okay, y'all done crept up. So that's when I just said, well, you know what? I got to work a little harder too then. If I got to pick up a side hustle and or push and promote myself more in another area, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I also will encourage these young women, don't waste a lot of time on things you don't like or being around people you don't like. Everybody wants to be accepted by what's quote unquote cool, some. And when you actually look at what's cool, if you don't actually like what they're doing, if you don't actually like it, Don't waste your time trying to fit in a situation that you don't even like or you don't even encourage what they're doing. If you're going to be the girl that's standing there the whole time telling them, hey, stop doing that, guys, you shouldn't be doing that, go find the crowd of people who already think like you,
Yeah.
even if it's just you for a little while.
Yeah.
That would have been my biggest thing to tell myself. Even if it's you got to sit there with a bat, a can of pepper spray, the extra locks on your front door, I would have told young woman me, it's okay to be by yourself. Whatever come through that door, you and God gonna face it. Because you'll fill your home with people and situations that are not really meant for you just for the sake of filling the space. And it's like that will derail your growth. It will distract you from your purpose. And time is not promised to any of us. And so now, as I'll be 35 this year, and I'm still in pursuit of my degree. I'm so proud of you for pushing forward and graduating. I've watched your journey over the years. You are a huge motivation to me when it comes to education. I'm coming, girl. I'm coming.
Don't 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 try to rush.
Yeah,
Take.
no, oh no. One, you can't, and that some of these websites and these new schools, the way they work, they'll have you thinking you can finish school in a week. And it's
Right.
like, it is not realistic. Take
Oh,
your time, whatever it is. That's why I say don't do things you don't like. If you get into a program or if you go start, I suggest to everybody when they pick a degree, get the job in the degree as close to it as possible. If it's medical, go work at the hospital. Can you even tolerate blood? Do you really want to be in that environment 24/7, 365 pretty much? Because certain jobs, there is no off. And so don't just do things because it sounds good, because there's a lot of jobs that make money. So if your goal is to only make money, why not pick the job that has the least amount of risk and make the money? Like, you can make a whole bunch of money and be in tech and never have to step foot in a hospital. I would love for you to pick the job that you actually love, because when we meet medical professionals that actually love what they're doing, that's how lives are saved and changed. When we meet people who are just doing a job, that's how we have so many injuries and accidents and I'm sorry's, and it's not worth it. In the long run, really pick what you love so we can really all keep this world going.
I 100%, 1,000% agree on that, man. And that's something even I would tell my younger self. That not only just to pick and do what you love, but really the most important thing where you're talking about, if you're around a person or a group of people, whatever you're doing, and you don't like it,
Mm-hmm.
go ahead, go and leave it alone. And that's something I wish I'd have learned in my
Mm-hmm. Oh,
teenage,
yeah, girl, me too.
because I've stayed in situations and I've stayed in places too long, longer than I should have been in,
Right.
as a result of that, because the kind of person that I was back then, even, today I am that, where I am a loyal person. And so, trying to remain loyal to certain people or loyal to certain things, I learned the hard way that these people don't care about you.
Not at all. Don't lose not one wink of sleep.
They will get rid of you in a heartbeat. You are
Yep.
equal to these people. So, yeah, I had to really learn, like, even now, like, learning to be more valuable with my own time and who I find valuable in my own life, and worthy to be in my own life, because yeah, my time is valuable. Giving you my time and me, that is that is valuable in its own.
Exactly.
So, if I am hanging around someone, or if I'm working a certain job and I don't feel any type of value, or I don't feel any type of worth, or it's not giving me any kind of what's the word I'm looking for here?
Fulfillment.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, I have to cut that off. I have to let that go because I have to realize that me,
Yeah.
I'm important.
Yeah.
And for these young ladies to take with them and to apply to their own lives and to learn from. Oh, yeah. So that's consistency right there.
Yes, ma'am.
And lastly, faith. God,
Right.
that's so huge. It's so big to me. It is, and I
Yeah.
know to you it is. And
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Nowadays I don't know where a lot of young ladies are when it comes to faith. I don't know if it's something that is largely talked about with a lot of young ladies, with a lot of young people even. Um, I know, like, I've had a few conversations with certain young ladies about faith, and they're asking me questions about God, and even like in their own lives, like one young lady who came asked me about God because she was lesbian.
Right.
And she wanted to know, like, does God still love me? What does God think of me? Or does
Right.
God accept me because I like girls?
Right.
Like, why wouldn't God not accept and love you?
Right.
You know? And I feel like when it comes to religion, again, this is probably just my assumption, but I feel like a lot of young people kind of stay away from it because of when they think of God, maybe they think of this deity or this
Right.
supernatural source that condemns or that judges,
Right.
and they don't want to feel that. And they already probably feel some type of way because maybe family members who are
Mhm.
in the church and
Have
you
already done it. Yep. Yep.
right, may look at them in some certain way or may think of some negative opinion of them in some certain way. And
Mhm.
so it's like they're not really, I don't know if they're not really comfortable in that area yet, even though there's some that they believe in God. They have some sort of certain connection with God.
Right.
Maybe it's not all the way through, but there's some type of
They got
connection.
something. Yep. Definitely.
And I mean, I can even speak for myself as a teen, even though, yeah, I believe in God because, I was raised and taught that. Even though I didn't go to church as a kid, I never went to church. I didn't start going to church until I was in my 20s.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And so, and even though, like, I heard about God, I was told about God, and, I believed in God, but that relationship part
Right.
wasn't there.
Right. It developed later.
Right. And so, um, but I realized how important that part of my life was to me.
Right. Right.
Actually seeing God in action in my life and all the things that I've been through and how God has come through for me.
Right.
Even now in this where I'm at currently now when it comes to my faith, um, I've had a lot of questions
Oh yeah.
when to religion and the way and how things have been structured and been set up. And even though, like, these things happen and occur when it comes to religion, but for me, one thing stands firm, and that is my own experiences I've had with God.
Right.
And I can't forget that. I can't push that away
Nope. Nope.
any days.
Yep. Even if
many
no one else understands.
right.
Yes.
I prayed, I've cried,
Hmm. I prayed
and
and I cried.
I did those too. And
Yeah.
I've just seen God come through for me in ways that I could never imagine.
Whew.
So I can't leave that part. I can't leave that out.
Not at
I
all.
can't.
Not at all.
And so for that, I just really, and again, I don't know where a lot of young ladies are when it comes to faith or when it comes to religion or wherever their belief is today. Like you
Right.
said, whatever they believe in, hold on to that very tightly.
Right.
Um, you know, connect with that more, build a relationship with that even more,
Yeah.
even if they might not believe in a higher power, they might
Right.
not believe.
Even if they just believe it in themselves.
Right,
You better believe, girl. You better
right.
believe. Especially if you really feeling, and that's not no judgment, but if
Mhm.
you really feeling like you out here on your own and you don't believe in something else, then you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself all the way because no one else is going to do it for you. And if you are going to carry that journey, then my hat is off to you. But yes, I agree with everything you said completely because it is times I feel like a lot of, and this is for young women and men, I feel like a lot of people I hear in the recent, our generation and down, call themselves spiritual. They'll
Mhm.
say like they're more spiritual instead of religious.
Yeah.
They may say they believe in God or they believe in the higher power. And a lot of it comes from a lack of understanding all the way. Like you said yourself, you didn't grow up in church. I have a lot of family and friends who did not grow up in the church, and then I have family and friends who never missed a service. And I have had moments with both that you may have a moment where you feel like the one who didn't go to church is being more genuine in you than the one who went to church. And I've had my times where I turned my back on the church, but I did not turn my back on God. I had to walk away from the church if it did not make me feel safe or comfortable at the church that I was attending. And I've had to do that more than once. I've gone to church, and if you go to preach and you're speaking about religion in a manner that is racist, or if you're speaking about our country in a manner that, because a lot of things changed and we got to learn about a lot of people's political views more so than most would have during certain time periods. A lot of us didn't used to talk about, especially being younger, we weren't talking about politics as much. But as we get older, it becomes a topic of discussion. And with some of the recent ways that some of these races have gone, it put a big divide between people. And I was in the South. I had relocated from Rochester to the South, and I had started attending a predominantly white church because it was walking distance to my apartment. I didn't have a car. And it said Baptist out front, so I went on in and I had gone for a couple Sundays and it was
Yeah.
good. But then one Sunday I went and the pastor just blatantly was just speaking about, it was President Obama at the time, and just a white pastor, and just racistly, just it was no questioning, to the point where not just myself but several other parishioners got up and left. And as I got outside, one of this young man, a young white man, he was standing out front and he was yelling to several people out front. He was upset. His girlfriend was trying to get him to calm down. He said no. He said, I grew up in this church. He said, and he was a soldier. He said, I fight every day and serve this country. And how dare I have to come into my church and hear him speak about my president like that? And all that man knew was that's his president. He doesn't care what color he is. And I agreed. I was like, wow, because I was appalled and couldn't believe that the things that he had said were even considered to be appropriate to be spoken in a public setting, let alone a church.
Yeah.
And so I never went back, obviously. And from that point forward, I went through a moment of darkness that I didn't have a church to be in, didn't have a time where I had that structure anymore. And so I did stray. And as time went on, I realized I have to have strength in my morals and standards no matter what building I attend on a Sunday, no matter what prayers I send up. Because there's days where if I'm feeling nervous about something, I'll say a prayer. But now I'm telling myself more and more on days that it's something positive, say a prayer too. I'm
Yeah.
doing a lot more saying prayers of thanks and not just prayers of need, because I believe that if it's true that the higher power got me, they know what I need anyway.
Yeah.
So I might throw up a prayer of, hey God, it's feeling a little heavy today. I need a little bit of extra oomph in this area. Carry me here. But for the most part, I've just been saying, thank you for waking me up. Thank you for this blessing that you gave me. Thank
Yeah.
you for waking my family up, because it's people not waking up.
Mm-hmm.
People definitely not getting that second chance. And I have been blessed with, I know, a multitude of chances. Like the term God looks out for babies and fools. I had to been a foolish baby and a baby fool for for the longest.
Yeah.
Because there have been times where I've been brought out of some dark moments where it looked like there was not going to be a way, and he made a way. And then there's moments where I had faith and
Mm-hmm.
it looks like he didn't show up, and I almost gave up. And right when I least expected, he still came through. And so it's like, no, that's why you don't give up. That's why you don't. Because right that second you give up, he could have been right there. And you'll never know if you give up.
That's true.
And that other option for myself isn't worth it. Because the way my faith is set up, I do have an alternative.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with putting myself on that structure and discipline of there is an alternative that is negative. Some people don't like that. Some people like to just live and have the positive option. I'm going to heaven no matter what. And I believe in forgiveness, but I also believe in you got to put action too. Because some
Yeah.
people will just go out here and do and say, oh, God's going to forgive me. No, that's not how that works. Because technically, while you're out there acting wrong, you have not asked for forgiveness yet. And that could be the moment you go. So I am not in the business of telling anybody what to do with their life. That is your choice. You support, like I said, and believe who you want to believe in. But respect enough in the sense of if you don't like what somebody else is doing, just leave them be.
Yeah.
There's so many people who want to force what they believe on someone else. You can just
Exactly.
agree to disagree and
Yeah.
keep it moving.
That's
And you don't owe nobody nothing, and they don't owe you anything. The world owes you nothing.
sure doesn't. Sure doesn't. Yeah. That's a you know said before, just to stay true. Hold on. You know, hold on to who you believe in, and hold on to, even if it's just yourself. And I feel like that's really the most important thing, is even if you don't have the church family, at least you still have God.
Exactly.
Um, you know, God is beyond four walls in a building.
Exactly.
God is, when you think of God, God is everywhere. People always say, and I think about this all the time, how people say, especially like with Christians, always say, God is so big and he's so vast. But really think about that. Like, people say it, but really think about it.
Right.
Because if we say God has no limit, think about all the unlimitedness. I don't even know
Right.
the word,
Right.
but
Yep. Yep. Like how far it could go. Yeah.
exactly. So, you know, God is huge, and
It's not. It's here.
also believing that God is in us, and just to hold on to that and to just let that marinate in your mind and in your heart, that God is everywhere all around, but most importantly, God is within you. And meaning that God, it will always be right there, closer than you think, because God is in you.
Everywhere you
Every,
go. Yep. That light in the dark, it is
yeah.
always. My grandmother always told me she carried the mail for over 20 years, and she would always say Psalms 23 when she would get to feeling weary, walking through certain areas. Technically, she carried the mail when she had live checks on her. When people was really actually wanting those checks, it wasn't direct deposit. So it's a dangerous job. And she'll say that prayer, and God brought her through it every time, whether
Yeah.
it was not getting robbed or not getting attacked by animals. Like, she would say, God just carried her and bring her through every single time. And watching her faith, watching my uncle's faith. My uncle had been paralyzed at 15,
Yeah.
and he was given a life expectancy of 19. And my uncle is still 37 years later, still going,
Wow.
and is a blessing every day. And he has a big faith in God, and he just says that God, as much as people could put it as a negative thing what happened to him, he said, when I think about the alternatives, if I had have had my ability to continue to walk, I may not have been a young man that would have lived. I may not have survived anyway. I may have caused harm to someone else. Who knows? He said, but God put this on me. And even though I lost my ability to walk, I was able to take care of my entire family.
Yeah.
And he's right. He gave us somewhere to be. I'm forever grateful. And I watch his faith. I watch other people who have, it seems like you see their struggle and you say you would have given up. You know you wouldn't be able to do it. Like, I don't see how this person does it. And you don't want to tell them that because you don't want them to give up. But
Right.
they obviously, how their mind is set up, their faith is so strong, that's not even an option. So they wouldn't be worried anyway. But I love gaining strength from watching other people be resilient, watching other people push through. And I just, whatever you believe in,
Yeah.
really believe in it, and really know that when the moments get tough, no matter what, there has to be the other side. There has
Yeah.
to be the other side. Even if it's like you could be facing eviction
Mm-hmm.
and you really end up evicted. And because I have been homeless before. And so it really, that moment can really come. You can think, oh man, no, I'm going to figure it out. God's going to make a way. And it falls short and you have to go. And then you tell yourself, what does that mean? Like, God's not loving me? Like, what's going on? You start questioning yourself. But then out of nowhere, you get an opportunity in another location. And God blesses you with more than you could have ever expected. And you realize you couldn't have signed that lease if you were supposed to be here. And therefore, it had to go that way. So just stop questioning it. Just keep being consistent. If you're being disciplined in your areas, if other things try to rock you, it's going to be hard to throw you off because you already had set yourself up. Whether that's with financial literacy, knowing to have savings, whether that's to be a good person and therefore you know you have allies and friends to fall back on or to network with. But just really, it's not all about the religious part. It's about who you actually are out here and what you're really putting into this atmosphere. That's the part that matters the most.
That's that integrity part right there.
Exactly. And that's why that was my three.
Yeah. Wow. Well, first and foremost, let me say this. Just knowing you, because I mean, I know we first met back in college, and
Right.
you know, but just knowing like the person you were back then with this big personality, this whole character, just bubbly, happy, and just knowing that part about you was like, just like, wow, this girl, like this one, she's amazing. She's a really nice person. I
Thank
love
you.
her. She's just, you know, um, but like even, getting to know you more and more, um, I know we reconnected
Right.
in 2020.
Yep. The pandemic. Yep.
Yeah, girl. Oh my goodness. And just knowing more about you and your life and your story. I mean, to me, like your story and everything that you've been through and who you are actually really motivates me. And
That means a lot.
it just, I don't know, like it gives me this, I don't know how to explain it, but like sometimes when I think of you and I think of all that you've been through in your story, it just inspires me because it's like, wow, how you've gone through all this and you are still here.
Amen.
And that to me is just, it's major, because I know people, there are people who go through things and it becomes way too much for them and they just uh, give up on
Right.
life. And I'm thankful and I'm grateful that, despite like everything that you've been through, you didn't let it take over you. You didn't let it make you give up on life.
Right.
Again, the saying goes, standing 10 toes down,
Mm-hmm.
standing on
And
business.
on business. Yes, ma'am.
You did it as hard as it was, because I know it wasn't easy,
Who no?
but you did it. And look where you are now. Look where you are today.
Amen. Yes,
And
ma'am.
I'm inspired, motivated by you. I am thankful and grateful for you. And I'm thankful and grateful because tonight you are here
Yes, yes.
sharing your story, and sharing your experiences. And I know that these young ladies will definitely be grateful uh, to hearing and listening to this and resonating with this and just taking away, because there's a whole lot in this
Oh
conversation.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I know that there's just so much that they can learn from. And honestly, it's better that way. It's definitely
Definitely.
that way. Um, so, Jazz, thank you so much for coming on here tonight and to have this conversation. Like I said, I'm not gonna call it an interview.
Right. No. This is straight love. Thank
Right.
you so much. No, thank you for creating this space and thank you. You are a huge motivation to me. Whenever I reference back to my time at Fisher, it's yourself, it's Emily, it's Steph. I always am so thankful for y'all. The way you carried yourselves as young women was motivating to me then, to see you all getting up and making sure to get to class and just doing it and participating in clubs and dancing and just experiencing the college life and making it what it was supposed to be, to go from that point, like you said, to become grown women and to still be able to communicate. They say us as black women, we can't do that. And we shatter that every time. Talking to you is so easy. And you always do. You leave it safe. And I never feel any judgment. And I just want these young women to be inspired. I have my novel coming out this year. I have finally actually like signed it in. It's real, so I can talk about it. Yes. And so it will be called Of What I Remember, and it's coming out this July 2024. And so I am excited for you all to read it. I'm basing it as fiction, but as you read it along, you'll notice some similarities to some stories that obviously I've experienced, and then some that I've been blessed to have others share with me their experiences. So I do. I'm thankful to be here. I'm thankful to be talking to you. And I just know this is going to be great. I'm excited to be one of your conversations and just keep going. Please just keep going.
Thank you so much, Jazz. I appreciate it. That's the goal. I'm just keep on going with this. I'm not gonna stop. And congratulations on your
Thank you.
book. Gosh, I'm gonna look forward. I'm waiting
Oh,
for
yeah. You know, I'm going to make sure you get one directly. That's already a given, girl. Yes.
you so much. Wow. And you know what? And I'll make sure to even promote it, because if they're listening to this episode, I know that, when I promote it, I know that they'll definitely want to read your book and again learn so much from you as well as they read
Fill in
it.
the gaps.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I appreciate, as we keep saying that, keep going. If they want to follow me on Instagram, I am J Unique Music on Instagram. And I'm not going to change it anymore because I had changed it a couple times. But I am J Unique Music, and I actually have a track that'll be on all the platforms next week, and it's called Keep Going. And I wrote that while I was away, and I was blessed to get in the studio since I've been home. And it's a motivating, but at the same time, just raw, real reality of my experiences. And that entire project is just my real life. So I hope y'all enjoy it. I appreciate y'all for supporting your girl.
Look forward to hearing it. Definitely. I'm definitely going to be supporting that. Definitely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Once again, Jazz. Thank you.
I hope you all learned a lot and received these amazing gems. I would love to thank J Unique for being a guest on this podcast and sharing her 3 words. And I also thank you, Rising Queens, and other listeners for tuning in on this episode. Make sure to follow J Unique on Instagram and TikTok at J Unique Music. Follow me on Instagram at Precious_Gems Podcast. Facebook at Precious Gems for the Rising Queen Podcast. TikTok and Snapchat at Precious Gems. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at Precious Gems Podcast. Also, please like, comment, and share this episode. Have a great week. Until next time, Talitha Kumi, Rising Queens.